What's happening, Soul Surfer? Welcome to Get Stoked TV Episode 3. Today's discussion reveals a shockingly simple way to make the best use of mindfulness breathing. I'm your host, not your guru, Tim McCauley, and before I walk you through the simple practice of mindful breathing, let's first discuss what is mindfulness, and second, let's discuss the pros and cons of mindfulness practice. First, what is mindfulness? The word mindfulness comes from the Buddhist practice of Vipassana, and Vipassana translates to clearly seeing. We get to see the internal dialogue as it happens without trying to control it and without any judgment. And the key to Vipassana meditation is a non-judgmental state. In essence, Vipassana or mindfulness meditation helps us get into a state of flow. It's that state where you reduce the resistance of what's going on in the present moment and you're able to make better decisions. It seems as if mindfulness would be like a miracle cure and you'd always want to be mindfully present of everything around you, but that's not the case. So meditating too much, not always that great of a thing, and that's not what we're about. What we want to try to achieve through mindful breathing practice is a state of flow, a reduced sense of stress, and allow us to become authentically present in our lives. But at the same time, we want to let our minds wander so we can do more creative things. So in order to benefit from a mindfulness practice, we have to do it in a manner that is useful for us. Which brings us to this episode of Get Stoked TV, this shockingly simple way to make the best use of a mindfulness practice. So let's discuss first mindfulness by the number. In middle school, a teacher whose name escapes me at the moment taught me to take 10 deep breaths like this. You see, I had some impulse control issues, and I sometimes melted down when I couldn't understand something properly. So she taught me how to reduce my level of stress with those 10 hard, deep breaths. Mindfulness is something like that, but not quite the same. Because in mindfulness breathing, we're not trying to control, we're trying to observe. So we observe our breath as it comes in naturally in our body, and we assign that first breath the number 1. Then we assign the breath number 2, number 2. And 3 in, 4 is out, 5 in, 6 out, 8 out, 9, 10, back to 1. You continue to do that 10 to 15 minutes, 12 being the magic number, every day for the next year, and your life will be different, drastically different next year. Now last year when I was running Soul Surfer School, I shared a video of a friend of mine from Facebook that teaches that exact meditation. And I suggested that more people do that. And matter of fact, I assigned that to people in Pause Get Stoked. But to be perfectly honest, that's not the meditation that I practice in the morning. The meditation I practice is much simpler than that. And it's like the Beastie Boys song, 1, 2, 1, 2. All I do is I get into that state, breathing, watching, and I sit there looking out the window. Sometimes I put my hand right here, and when I breathe in, I breathe 1, and when I breathe out, I breathe 2. 1, 2. And just 1, 2. Now, you know where I'm going with this. I don't want you to shoot for 12 minutes today. I want you to shoot for next January, 12 minutes twice a day, every day. Just because that's part of your routine. Let's recap this. Mindfulness breathing is a tool that we can actually use to be able to clearly see the internal dialogue that we have about the world around us in a non-judgmental way. That helps us reduce the level of stress and helps us make better decisions for lasting change. To reap the maximum benefits of mindfulness, you need at least 12 minutes a day. So what we would like to do is shoot for 1 session in the morning, 12 minutes a day. To start off with, for the first week, what I suggest that you do is only shoot for 5 breath cycles. A breath cycle is in and out. So 1, 2, 5 deep breaths. That's all we're going for. Now get a calendar and mark an X on the calendar every single day that you practice your 5 mindful breaths. And when you get 5 X's in a row, then take a stopwatch and put 1 minute. Maybe 2 if you want to get crazy. X across the calendar. When you get 5 in a row, bump it up to 5 minutes, to 10 minutes, to 12 minutes. It should take you maybe a month. I'm going to discuss why meditation is one of the 3 pillars of fat loss in this week's podcast. So if you're not on the list, get on the list. And if you didn't know, now you know. And if you watched this episode all the way through, give me a little shout out on a comment on the blog. And if you feel compelled, share it with your friends. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Get Stoked TV. I am your host, Tim McCauley. I mean, could you imagine if you had to mindfully contemplate the rules of grammar with every conversation you had? I'd melt down if I had to do the sentence structure, tree, or whatever that was that we did. Wasteful exercise.